On today's episode of Man vs. Mood, we're going to discuss a topic that is of vital importance to all of our lives, as well as our mental health. This topic actually transcends mental health, though. It's what keeps households, towns, cities, states, nations, and the world from falling into a dystopian nightmare. Without this, our relationships with loved ones, especially in the face of adversity, would surely demise. We watch as a nation repels a brutal and vicious attack, using this as its primary fuel to defend its people and sovereign ground. The vast majority of the world has rekindled and embraced this in a way most of us thought may be next to impossible in just the last 5 days. Merriam-Webster defines this word in multiple ways, but for our discussion, I find this to be the most relevant. The quality or state of not being multiple, a condition of harmony, and the quality or state of being made one. This gives humans the ability to achieve greatness. This warms our hearts and eases our pains. This brings people together for the greater good. This is unity, and this is
Man vs. Mood.
There we go. Gary is on tape delay because Gary is joining us via the FaceTime today. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Wonderful. Gary's not here.
Doing good.
Gary's with us. He's just on the road right now talking via the wonderful world of technology that we all enjoy so much.
We miss you here in person, Gary.
We do miss you, Gary.
We miss Jen, too.
We do miss Jen, and I would be reticent not to mention Jen and the fact that we're hoping she is going to be back with us next week if all things go swimmingly with her, the rest of this week and next week. So it's
fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. We're missing Jen's voice and her voice of reason more than just her voice. Am I right?
Definitely.
So, well, as we always begin this stuff, we want to talk about something that we're feeling blessed about these days. Gary, you want to give us or you want to start us off here?
Yeah, so I'm thankful because for me, like I drive for my job, and just driving around the city of Portland, there were so many wrecks today.
Really?
Like so many just horrible wrecks and stuff, and it's so scary, and I don't know, like I just want people just to be safe out there, and there's no need to rush. I mean, we're all gonna get to work, we're all gonna get home. We just got to be safe. So like I'm thankful that I'm okay and you guys are okay, and we can enjoy this podcast from the wonderful world of video.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's very true, especially in this rain, which you would anticipate the people with their Subarus over in Portland, because that is the national car of Oregon, right? National car, that's not how that quite works, but
Regional car?
Yeah, regional car. The state car of Oregon.
Yes.
They've got the beaver is the beaver their mascot? I think it is. Go Beavs. And then Subarus are their automobile of choice. Do you have a Subaru, Gary?
I do not have a Subaru. I have a Geo Metro.
Yeah, you look like a Geo. Maybe I thought maybe you were a Fiat guy. You really give me that Fiat vibe. As you put your I'm glad I've got this on video. I can see you put your headband on for the sweat that you're going to create making this podcast.
Can I get a headband?
Yeah, sweaty.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sweaty Gary in the house.
Sweaty Gary, that's right. That's right. That's me.
That's exactly right. Mike, what about you? What are we feeling grateful on this wonderful, wonderful Wednesday?
I'm grateful for getting able to spend some time. Yeah, I can't talk today. Talk.
Wow, cock? You just said cock. I don't know where.
Talk.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just grateful for
cock,
being
okay.
able to go see the movie Dog
Okay.
with my girlfriend Michelle, and it's a touching story, but it's also a sad story because there's a lot of, you see a lot of veterans that struggle with that every day. And,
really? What's the premise? I don't know.
It's a veteran who gets out of the military. He was an Army Ranger, and he has to take a dog that was like one of the dogs in the unit, and the handler got killed, or he killed himself actually, and drove into a tree. And he has to take the dog to the funeral because
Really?
it's a Gold Star
Oh.
funeral. And I don't want to ruin it for you guys, but basically the trip is he gets there and him and the dog bond, and the dog hated him because the dog has PTSD.
Oh, okay.
So, it's pretty eye-opening to see how much those guys and men and women have to go through and are still struggling through it. So
I can only
So
imagine.
I'm grateful for the time to be able to go see that, and
Yeah.
and Michelle got choked up. She rarely gets choked up.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's and it's
Damn.
good to have that kind of stuff as a reminder of the things that people go through and animals go through as well. I mean, not that we need to have. I'm not big on putting dogs on antidepressants and stuff, but there's a reason they're our companions and they trust us and things like that. So, well, for
Right.
me, I'm very thankful for the fact that yesterday my son got his first letter from a college for football. Now we don't know if it's going to turn into anything, but it was pretty exciting for him to, as a sophomore, get even recognized as they said it's the top 200 student athletes in Washington, and they've invited them to this thing next month. We'll see where it goes, but it's still exciting for him to kind of get that recognition and see where it goes from here. It's just fun to see it on his face.
What college is it?
Rocky Mountain State, it's obviously a very small college. It's not a Division I or anything like that. But for a sophomore to get a letter and recognized to go to, it's kind of a combine type thing with other coaches from around the state of Washington and other small
That's
colleges.
awesome.
So yeah, it's kind of exciting. And the thing that I really liked about it is that it's a motivator for him. He's got me kicking him up and down or getting him to do things, motivate him, things like that. But it's these external things that allow him to say, you know what, this hard work that mom and dad are always getting on him about, actually, it starts to pay off. And so that's what I really liked about it. It's like, okay, if you keep on the grind, you got a real legit shot, because he has the physical tools. He's almost 6'2" and got a good frame, so he'll put lots of muscle on. But anyway, that was pretty exciting for him, because it was just out of the blue. And
What position does he play?
he is a tackle, offensive tackle, and then he was a tackle on defense as well, but I have a sneaking suspicion that he may move out to defensive end next year because of his size. So he's probably he could be an inside backer, but he's got to have the mentality for that, and that he's working on it. But he has to work on his speed a little bit more for coverage and whatnot. But his ability on the offensive line is where he shines. He is a very, very good pass blocker. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. So, well, today's show, we actually had a different topic that we're going to cover next week that I think is a wonderful topic. But today, Gary, if you hear that sound, that screeching, it's not a dead bird.
It's him wiping off the sweat from his brow.
Exactly. No, that's Gary's windshield wipers. I think you might need to get a new set or something. Or is it just not? Is it just not raining hard enough where you're kind of in that in between zone?
Yeah, I'm trying to find that space of like, do I windshield wipe or do I not windshield wipe? Do I go on 2? Do I go on 3 or what? It's just
Swipe or no swiping. For all
Definitely.
my Dora the Explorer fans out there.
That brought me back to when Bree was like a little kid.
Yeah, right. Swipe or no swiping. Well, today's, as I mentioned at the top there, and I felt a little tinny when I read that, but this unity thing, that it has struck me as we've watched everything unfold in Ukraine over the last week, and to see a people come together, I thought that it would be a good opportunity for us to talk about how being together and building upon our own unity, even in small areas like our community, whether it's church, whether it's kids at school and their sports, whatever it might be, the importance of that unity for our own mental health, because together we can really accomplish a lot, but we're happier when we're together, because humans are, we're a
Social species.
Exactly. Thank you I was kind of stuttering there for a second, but that's exactly right. And when we can help each other. I always quote something that Scott Galloway, who's a professor at NYU Stern, says. He says, greatness is in the agency of others. And he's more speaking about helping people and how good that can make you feel. But this is, together, I think we can all, really accomplish some great things. So I have some questions and things like that. But the first thing I wanted to do is ask each of us what unity means to us in our lives right now, having gone through COVID, and where do you see it now? And be honest. If it means that you don't have a lot of unity, then that's fine, and it gives us something to work with. But Gary, let's start with you. What does unity mean to you, and where do you kind of find yourself in that today?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just think that, unity to me basically just means having, a good foundation and like a good core of people around you. And I think for me, just going through COVID, like I consider myself more of an introvert. And I think going through COVID, like it more along the lines made me realize that I need more positiveness and I need more people around me. Like I think about the movie Planet of the Apes, and Caesar's like going through and talking about with he grabs the sticks and breaks one stick, and then he puts another stick on another stick and another stick, and basically like he's just showing that the more sticks you have, the more strong people you have, it's harder to break those people. It's harder to break, yourself and your intentions and your own, intuition and stuff like that. And I just think that, I never really realized until COVID, honestly, that I do really need positive people around me. I do need, to get all these negative entities and beings and energies and stuff like that away from me, and more positiveness. I think for me, that's why I'm thankful to have you guys and Jen, because it makes me want to do more and be more and more positive.
You hit so many awesome points that we're going to get back to, because that's kind of a multi-point plan to overall happiness. You just presented it right there. What about you, Mike?
I haven't had a lot of unity in the recent future or recent past. I do have some with Michelle, with like, we're very united in what we're doing and our plans are in the future and things like that. But also, with you guys and Jen, to have the unity that we have, the close bond, and how fast we really kind of all connected is pretty cool. Kind of a lot of what Gary said also, just trying to get better and find the people that are on the same life path, and kind of go that route, which it's hard to find those people. Because there's a lot of fluff, and there's a lot of, you think someone might be that person for you or someone that is in your corner, but they're really out for themselves and not to kind of come alongside you and go with you.
I think that you made a great point there, because as we move out of those high school years where we had a lot of unity, what we thought was legitimate unity, and as you begin to mature and you kind of think back onto those relationships and how they impacted you and how you worked through them, or you didn't, you realize that you used the perfect word. There was a lot of fluff there, but when it comes to that core group of people, a lot of times you're even going to move away from those people that you may have known for 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it might be, because you don't share the same values. And I think that's a lot of what unity is based around. We share the same values as a nation. We have core values that are set in stone by the Constitution that we want to follow. And I know for me, the last 2 years has been very hard, because COVID has forced us into almost seclusion, and we don't need to get into the semantics of what that pressure was, but the pressure to move away from our own groups to make us be alone. And I know for me that it impacted me tremendously because I'm a social person. I feed off the energy of other people, and I didn't quite realize that going into it because I mean it all kind of hit us so fast. I mean, there was one day I was at the Blazer game, sitting there watching Dame, I think, win a game winner or something, and literally 3 days later, the world ended. It was all over. I mean, you guys remember that, and we're like, oh, what's going to happen now? And now we sit here virtually. I mean, I would say a year and 50 weeks from when that happened, because I think it was a Wednesday that the CDC or whoever, Fauci,
it was in March.
Yeah, and they shut everything down, and so I just didn't quite realize how important that was. But as I look at unity in a bigger scope and what it means to me, it is that we come together for a common good, but we don't take what somebody says and vilify them for that, unless it's something bad, of course. But just because I disagree with somebody does not mean that I cannot stand united against something else that may be nefarious or whatever it might be, or just for the rooting for my team. We stand united to root Washougalon against Camas and vice versa. You get what I'm saying?
It's funny, kind of on that same thing. You notice how, like, if you go on vacation and you go to, say, you go to the beach, it's only a couple hours away, right? So you see somebody that has a Camas hat or a Washougal hat on. Oh, I'm from Camas Washougal also.
Yep.
But if you take that a next step further, so say you're out of state, and then you see somebody, and so you're in Hawaii, and somebody's wearing a Washington State Cougars or Huskies or whatever gear, and be like, hey, I'm from Washington. Oh, I'm from Washington. You keep doing that over and over, or stretching it out. So then, like when I was in Australia, hey, I'm from USA. So it's funny how you have these unity in different groups when you're in different places.
Yeah, and that bond
is different.
Exactly, but the bond never leaves you, right? Gary, one of the things that you said when you were talking about that is, I gotta remember, but what my point was is that, oh my gosh, I just lost it all. It all just went flying out of my head, so I'm going to skip to that.
Today's episode is brought by Memory Care.
Yeah, ginkgo biloba, right? Okay, so the next thing I had was, we'll come back to that because I guarantee it's going to fly into my head as one of you two are talking here in just a minute. What are some examples? You just gave one, Mike. Gary, what's some examples of unity and then maybe some disunity that we have seen lately? But in your life, Gary, what are some examples of wonderful unity you think?
So I'm going to give one example, but I think it's disunity and unity. I was just telling this story earlier today, but when I was probably 9 or 10 years old, my grandfather wrote down a phone number at our house, like on the back of a picture, and he told me that when he gets sick, call this phone number. And like, I didn't know who it was. He just said that, you're not going to understand now, but when you get older, when I get sick, call this number. So years and years go by, and then he had some heart ailments, and he was on his deathbed, gonna go to gonna pass away essentially. And my family, his wife, my uncles, and my aunt were all just saying, kick him out of the house, get him out of here, we don't need him anymore. He's
their grandfather?
Their dad. My
Your
grandfather, their dad.
They were saying to kick him out of the house?
Yeah, get him out of here.
Wow. Anyway, go ahead.
So yeah, it's just crazy, right? So I'm like, damn, like, how can these people that, this is their dad, they're saying, get him out of here, we don't want him around, we don't need him here, whatever. So I think to myself, oh yeah, there's a phone number on the back of this picture. So I call the phone number. The phone number's to his daughter from a previous marriage. I had never met her before. She just landed in Arizona, and I called her and I told her, I call him dad, but it's
Yeah.
my grandfather. So I'm like, Dad, he's going to hospice. He's sick. He needs your help. And she dropped everything instantly, booked the next flight back to Portland, had him come to her house, and they got to spend like the last couple months of his life, together. And
Really?
she loved him unconditionally, showed him compassion, took care of him. They had the greatest time. And to me, that was just like another example of how fucked up the world is, but also how great, love is, and compassion and unity and stuff like that.
Why do you, we don't have to get into all that, but why do you think your family wanted him out? I mean, they just thought of him as a burden, or what?
They saw him like as a voucher, essentially.
Really? Just a ticket? A meal ticket?
Exactly.
No
Exactly.
Shit.
I've been in
So
that
yes.
position before.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's so.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's just wild to me that anyone. I mean, well, no, it's not wild to me because I saw what happened to my mother-in-law when she was passing away, and her two sack of shit sons would show up once a week, knowing that she had a couple months to live, and one of them booked a trip to the Cayman Islands after she got a diagnosis of 3 to 6 months to live, and left 2 days before she died. But he stopped by to say goodbye for a half an hour before he flew to the fucking Cayman Islands for 2 weeks. No joke.
Oh my God, dude.
So yeah, no, I can
guy.
Oh, you have no idea. I have seen the devil in very few people's eyes, and the devil lives in that man. We're like, he came over. How do you do that? And we knew that it was within, just a couple of days that it was going to happen. Yeah, he came over and brought his kids over and his wife, and I had shed a couple tears, and then off to the Caymans he went. I mean, that's some
off to vacation.
Yeah,
Gotta go.
No shit, and he booked it afterwards. And then he tried to say, "Well, I can't. I don't have insurance on it." But I knew because his wife posted on Facebook asking what everyone thought of the Cayman Islands. They were going to book a trip there. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was Anyway, so we all have sacks of shit in our life. Luckily, he's not in ours anymore. So
yeah.
Anyway, but that's what I mean right there. That is, the family is so important for unity, for our own mental health, because when we have a strong base to operate from, then we can go do better things for people that we don't know. But
definitely,
we have so much toxicity. I mean, the three of us. Do you want to share your story of that, Mike, or do you not want to get into that?
No, we'll talk about it some other time.
Okay, because when you have to battle that toxicity, it drains your ability to have empathy and love for people outside of it, because the people inside your life are just sucking it out of you, whether they're narcs or narcissists or they're just bad people. It takes energy to fight that, right?
I think you also, in my case, I would escape, and I escape through either porn or through alcohol, or not alcohol, but food, and other people use alcohol or drugs or whatever to escape that. Yep. And there's not a lot of unity in that at all.
No, you feel completely alone,
isolated.
Yep.
Just kind of like worst of the worst in a lot of ways. But then, so now I go to a group, and there's a lot of unity in that because we're all struggling with the same thing, or we struggle with the same thing. And so, when you have somebody that's in your corner along with you and going through the same shit that you're going through, it's a hell of a lot easier. Kind of like with what we have through this group, or with our, the podcast. And we've all had our life stories, but everybody that we've talked to, they have similar life stories. And it's not like, but when we're not conversing or being out with other people, we don't know what they've gone through. They don't know what we've gone through. We don't have any common bond until we talk about it.
Exactly. And that's what we're really trying to get across here. And to build that community for men to be able to talk openly about what their issues are and how they can overcome that. And by us being vulnerable, we can create that, because they say, you know what, we've dealt with the same type of shit. And back to your point on being kind of secluded when you have, because you feel so much shame. I mean, I know that I would go through a fast food restaurant and order the left side of the fucking menu and just sit there by myself plowing down burgers and chicken nuggets and shit. But I felt so alone, and I felt so ashamed. I mean, there's just this bevy of emotions that are running through your mind when you're doing something like that. But the most thing is just the shame and the embarrassment of it. And so when you know, whether it's a weight loss group or whatever it might be, you go, you know what? Other people have dealt with that too. And it makes it so much easier to overcome that. Gary, when you think of the kind of the difference between what would be your aunt and the rest of your family. So the aunt that was down in Arizona that came back up here and the rest of your family, the happiness level, I bet you could see a difference between all of them. Am I right?
Yeah, it was just crazy. Like it was like night and day. And just seeing how thankful and happy she was, it showed like in the environment, you know, like going to her house and seeing him, you know, he went from being, you know, not doing good, you know, his extremities and stuff like that, you know, were swollen, to being like in this happy and positive and, you know, jovial like environment. Like I think kind of almost extended his life, you know, it made him like a happier person, you know, like in a way. And just seeing that, you know, like it really made me realize too, like how fucked up the world is, you know, like in a way. And like it really made me think, you know, I need more positive people around me. Like I need more happiness and joy and, you know, people to uplift me and, you know, people that I can uplift as well.
Absolutely. And you see how unhappy the selfish people are. The people that don't want to work with others, the people that want to put others down. And that's something that, you know, as I was thinking about this episode, that I see so much of. You know, we've talked about the online stuff, the keyboard warriors, but it's bleeding out. And we're seeing families disrupted. We're seeing school districts, city governments, state governments, and the federal government being attacked, and our vital institutions. If you don't agree with somebody, you're being
cultured.
Exactly, and you're being destroyed. And it's an us versus them mentality. The world is never going to move forward and be a better place if we have this us versus them. If you don't agree with me 100%, then you're completely wrong, and I'm going to make you feel my wrath for that, as if, you know, the people on Facebook and Twitter and so on and so forth are, you know, these specialists in anything. It's amazing how many people have gone from epidemiologists to, you know, Ukraine people that
they're
know
experts in everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's like give me an iPhone and I instantly become a fucking messiah of information, right?
Wikipedia.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a scientist.
WebMD.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a scientist. Put me in front of the Daytona 500. I'm going to tell you who should win that, and the aeronautical design of a MiG-29 coming out of Poland.
Right.
Exactly, and the best place to vacation in the Maldives. I mean, that's this mentality that you have this. You're better than other people because of your opinions, and it's this idea that I believe is it's our ideas that make us great, whether it's at this small level, which is your family, and that's where it really needs to start, right? And especially because all of us here have had dysfunctional families, it has. Oh, man. I mean, would you say, Gary, that it has hampered your ability to find unity with other people, or it made it harder for you to understand the importance of it?
Oh, definitely. Because I just think for me, like my childhood, like growing up, like my family didn't want me, you know, spending the night in like other people's houses, or really even going to other people's houses. And just last week, I ran into my uncle's only friend, like on the face of the planet. Like he has one friend, and you know that's the person that he relies on for everything. And it's like, it's interesting just the day and age we live in, because it seems like everything is trying to divide us with so many different aspects, like in the world. And when Mike's talking about, when he sees somebody wearing a Washington hat or a Washington State hat, for me it's a Duck hat or Portland State or Seahawks or something like that. And it's interesting because it's like those things bring people together, so you talk, so you're not divided. So you can talk about the Ducks going to the playoffs or Washington going to the playoffs or whatever, but we don't have those same things when we look at people that are dealing with trauma. People aren't wearing a hat that says mommy issues, daddy issues,
maybe
assault issues or something like that. And yeah.
I mean, no, and I know that we're saying that in jest, and I don't think any of us would wear a hat that said mommy issues on it. But that doesn't mean that we need to find some way to, I guess, and this is a good way for people to kind of deal with that, but to take that stigma away from the fact that we do have these issues. And I think that the three of us and Jen have done a wonderful job of at least attempting to take the shine off the people that would put us down. And there are plenty of people out there, and I think our first step is not really giving a fuck. I mean, that's the thing, is they hold no agency over us because we don't give a shit.
Well, and
right.
when we put it out there, they can't put it out there, so it takes away the power.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to be, I guess the bigger person is one way to put it, but not even acknowledging them. There's no reason to acknowledge the trolls. They're always going to be there, and they're under the bridge for a reason, because it's cold and dark down there, right? But it's,
right.
I know for me, now, Gary, you have a unique viewpoint on the racial side of it, and the unity that we see, or the division that we see across that now. Do you think that as you have matured that it has gotten better, or do you think we're in a worse place than we were 30 years ago when you were in high school, or 20 years ago?
I would say, honestly, like, for me, I grew up in an area that was not very diverse.
Milwaukee, Oregon wasn't diverse.
That I know,
you and Kelsey
right?
proved that well last week, that's for sure.
I know. And for me, like, personally, like, I feel like I was pretty good friends with Kelsey then, but I think that for the males, like, that I was around, like, it was almost like a competition almost. Like, you didn't want to help out the other because you wanted to seem better. Like, I'm not saying that for every one of us, but it was more, along the lines of, some sort of competition of what I can achieve or what I can prove and whatever else. And I think now, like, I hear more of, I want to help other people that look like me because I understand the struggle. I think, for me, I mean, that's, like, a large part of the reason why I enjoy this podcast, is because, just like you said, like, I don't give a fuck. Mike doesn't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck too. It's kind of like the 8 Mile movie, where she talks about all the things they're going to talk about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like you're taking the power out of it and you're investing it in something else. So I mean, personally, like, I think things are definitely getting better, but they're not perfect. And I definitely like the direction things are going, because you see things like we're doing. We're out here trying to help people that, may not understand our perspective, or may be scared to talk about things they're going through, or may think that they can't talk about it because of how they look.
Yep. I think that last point there was a big one. What about you, Mike?
Well, I was thinking, when you were talking, Gary, I was thinking about, what it's going to really take for people to become united is going to be the leaders. Mm-hmm. So who's going to be the leaders? And leaders aren't the ones that sit in the background saying, you do this, this, and this.
No.
It's like the Ukrainian president who's like, I don't want to ride. Just give me some fucking bullets.
That was so,
that
was so awesome.
Wait till that movie comes out.
Oh.
But,
yeah.
And that's one country that is extremely united.
Yeah, and
like,
that's
men and boys who aren't in the military are staying back to fight. the invaders.
Yeah, and I have a friend who has family in Ukraine, and it's obviously very hard, but she said that it was her uncle, and so these are her cousins. They're guys that have never taken up arms, they've never fought or anything, but they're scared. They don't want to be in this predicament, but faced with an alternative that is an autocratic / communist country taking them over and subjugating them and doing things that are probably truly horrible, because we've heard, about some atrocities in a number of different areas involving that. But, that's what I think of this whole situation as an opportunity, and what we've seen is the world galvanize to help stop that, to make them feel that pain. But what I'm really hoping is that here at home, in the 40s, we came together to overcome. Yeah, exactly. After 9/11, we came together to support the fallen victims of 9/11, and
the police officers,
exactly,
and the fire departments of local,
all of that. And I'm hoping, and it's a terrible thing to have to go through for those people, but I'm really hoping that we can drop all this bullshit that we see on social media and the things that are destroying families and whatnot, to say, you know what, we have to fight for what we enjoy right now, which is, hold on just a second, Gary. Here, we're going to turn you down a little bit. But which is this freedom to love one another. And wow, you all right there?
Yeah, there was a giant hole in the road. I couldn't swerve or anything. Awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right. But no, it's just, I just find that so important. And this is one of those things, these moments in history, and we are seeing history, that's for sure. But to take advantage of that and kind of put down the phone or whatever it might be, where we're going to try to tear somebody else down for not agreeing with us.
Why does it take a tragedy,
right,
to get us united? Why does it take something huge to do that? That's my question.
And it can be all the way down to having a heart attack and saying, you know what, I need to get healthier.
Yeah.
But it usually takes a shock in order for us to pay attention to this, right? Gary, you just said it with your grandfather. He wrote that number down when you were a kid, and it didn't come back into your life until that tragic moment when he is on his deathbed and evidently somebody's going to kick him to the curb. That pulled him together with, obviously a daughter that you didn't know. Am I right?
Yeah, I had never met her until that point, but once I met her, it was like I had known her forever.
Just a warm soul, right?
Yeah, just a very nice, warm-hearted woman that didn't want anything from me. She just wanted to know that she loves me and cares about me, and just wanted to thank me for looking after her dad. Because she knew that I was the only one within this household that was even cared about this man. And it's honestly very, very sad.
Oh, it's beyond sad.
And when my grandfather died, they got him cremated. And when I was married, she actually brought his remains, the whatever, to my wedding. And just to me, that was amazing, because that was my chance to show him, that I'm an adult, and that I am, what I am today because of him, because I learned so much from him, and I always felt bad because, of the position that the family put him in. So, I really appreciate her, and I still talk to her until this day.
That's such a heartwarming story for something that you have shared quite a lot with us. That was, it was a negative situation, but for him to have that little bit of time with peace and not being taken advantage of. I mean, that, like you said, I mean, that was almost like a healing force. And a lot of times people that are in that situation will have a point where they will rally a little bit and they'll feel a little bit better. And just that was that energy that he needed to rally. Maybe might have given him an extra month, right?
Yeah.
I
And I think, just it just goes to show that, what a positive and uplifting environment can really do for you. And I just think for me, like that's why I think like what we have, like the environment that we cultivate, this podcast, we're doing like uplifting people's lives and our lives and stuff like that. Like it's a cheat code, like I really hope that, what we do can show people what their life, could be, or, they could join us, and join this positivity and this, this uplifting, like in your life. It's a great feeling, and I really truly appreciate you guys, and I just can't wait to see.
We love you too, Gary. I just lost your feed, but I can still hear you. And I think that a point of that and a point of unity also is when you have people that are willing to take that step that most people aren't, the ones that are the leaders, and we hope that we're leading people to make that decision for themselves. But that's a lot of time what it takes to bring a group together, right? You have one force that says, I'm going to say we need to go do this.
Well, the leaders are the ones that step in front of the bullets, the ones that take the hits on, like when we have said some of the stuff that we've said on the air, people can use that as ammo to come after us, but they're the ones that, they're the ones that are going to take the rounds, not us.
Yeah, because we're not saying it trying to get after somebody or put somebody down. We're saying that because we want to help empower people and unite them to say, you know what, even if we just have one meeting or we make one phone call to that long distance relative or somebody that we had a bad falling out with, whether it's a mother or a cousin or whatever it might be, if we can spur that, then that is so fulfilling for us. Because it brings a smile to all of our faces, and you, the listener, you don't get to hear what we talk about off the air and the neat stories that we have and things like that because they're private. But do you have something?
Yeah, I have a story for you.
Well, now they're not private.
Hopefully,
we mostly talk about like banana hammocks.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's Gary. Yeah. Gary talks about banana hammocks.
Gary's sweaty banana hammock.
Hopefully, my friend doesn't mind this, but
you don't have to use any names.
No, I won't. But he'll know who he is. We were best friends from 4th grade. We played baseball, everything, and I was the best man at his wedding, and he was going to be the best man at my first wedding. Mm-hmm. And the night before I was supposed to get married, we had a falling out.
Really?
Like his wife was going to be the maid of honor, and he was my best man. And basically, shit hit the fan, and they said we're not showing up, and we're like, fine, fuck you, And
no shit.
I didn't talk to him for four plus years.
Okay.
Like we were best friends, like brothers.
Can you give us an idea of what happened, just so we understand the gravity?
It was petty. It was like a Gary Petty type thing.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah, but we allowed that to destroy our friendship and take us away from each other for so long. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until after he had, I think it was his daughter, or maybe it was, I can't remember why I reached out, but I sent him a card, and I was like, hey, miss you. Congratulations on your son or your daughter. I can't, whatever it was. And he ended up calling me.
Really?
And we met at Red Robin over by the mall, mm-hmm. and sat down, had dinner. And I mean, we're sitting here crying in public, because it's like, dude, I don't even know why I did that.
Really?
And I missed you for the last 4 years. And these are the things that have gone on. And this is a guy I would spend time with daily.
Really?
Yeah. Blazer games, football games. We did everything together. Yeah. We went to college together, and we drive like to high school and to college there was no time when we were really apart unless it was like he was with his family or I was with mine.
No kidding. So there was a very strong bond there.
Yeah. So with that division of basically it was just our pride, both
Yeah.
of our prides got in the way, and it definitely took us apart. But when I kind of stuck out the olive branch and was like, hey, I'm sorry, and we had it out at the table, and not in a bad way, but just very apologetic, and I can't believe we did that, and we're still best friends today,
That's awesome.
even though he lives in another state. But
Well, Oregon's not that far away.
no, he's in Utah.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
That's well, it goes to show you that you can get past things. Yeah, there are times when there's a line that you're not going to come back from, but when it's petty like that, or something that when you have some time to ruminate on it and go, you know what, I'm going to be a bigger person than that. Gary, I know that with your self-admitted love of pettiness, do you have an example of a time you have overcome that pettiness to maybe, I don't know, rehabilitate a relationship or something like that?
Yeah. Honestly, like I would say for my uncle, I've given him so many chances and I've cut him off and I've told him fuck you so many times and he's told me fuck me so many times too, and
Can I borrow your
just
video game?
yeah, exactly.
Forever.
Yeah, permanently.
Exactly. But I mean, for me, honestly, like when it comes to people, like it's definitely been him. Um, but I mean, outside of that, honestly, like for the most part, like I really only give people one, maybe two chances. Especially like the older that I get too. Like I feel like I'm a pretty decent judge of character now, and depending on the severity of what happens is when I would cut somebody off, and then I'm ultra petty or sweaty or whatever you want to call
Sweaty Petty. I think
it.
that may be
Yeah.
your new name, Sweaty Petty. I, I think that goes along with, especially as we've gotten into the mental health stuff, is understanding boundaries and the importance of boundaries. And we all have had people that are more than willing to step over our boundaries for their own good. And these are the people that I talk about with the unity, that they've got to drop that ego a little bit and realize that not everyone is out to get them. And I think that that's one thing social media has done a terrible job with. Well, actually, I unfortunately I think it's by design from a lot of different outlets, is to pump fear into people, and that fear is what divides us. When you're afraid of something that you don't know, and you have an invisible monster out there, whether that's at a border or that is somebody that looks different or believes a different political stance than you, it's easy to vilify them and cause you to go, oh, well, they're that way, so I should not like them because this idiot on TV told me that. Well, fuck that. You should probably make the decision on your own and not be influenced by somebody that wants you hooked into that, because it's a negative feedback loop that you're constantly going to be feeding from. It's a trough that you keep going back to every night or every day or whatever you're scrolling on. And that kind of leads me into the next thing that I wanted to touch on, which is the future of unity. And even given the happenings of the last week, what do you guys think the future of unity looks like in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but just overall with the impact that social media has had on your life, on you, and understanding mental health and boundaries? Because I think that's one thing that I've really learned, is that my boundaries are very important, but I still want to stay united with people, and I still want to understand them. And I hope that I can be a better person for that. Gary, what do you think?
The future of unity.
I know that's a loaded question,
Yeah,
which is
I
why
don't
I
know.
asked it.
Yeah, like I think that I don't know. Like I kind of think that the future of people or unity could potentially grow apart, because it just seems like everything is being geared more toward like technology and doing what we're doing now. Like a video chat and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like it. it almost seems like it's kind of breaking down into less, personal and hugs and handshakes and stuff like that. And it's interesting because I keep seeing all these things on, you need to have this many hugs per day, because if you don't get that, you're kind of, your psychological fortitude and stuff like that is kind of lessening.
Mm-hmm.
And like even when I see my son, like my 16-year-old too, he's going to school less, he's being around his teammates less, and the future of unity, I hope things can change, and I hope things, people can say, you know, just like you said, just because this person looks different or acts different doesn't mean that I have to be nervous or scared around them. I should be just as willing to embrace them and give them a hug, like as I would my partner or my family or friend or something. But I'm scared. I don't know.
And I hear what you're saying with being scared, but I think that goes into a territory that we are in charge of. We are in charge of whether that occurs or not. It falls on our shoulders as the adults in the room, which I don't think the boomers are the adults. I think that they need to go to a home because they're out of touch. And I think that the youth, whether they're 18 to 30, don't have the experience to guide us into that next generation of unity.
That's because our generation, and a little bit older than us, haven't really been great examples at that.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
Expand on that.
I don't have any clue of what it was like to you talk about unity, it starts in your house. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So if I didn't learn that, where am I supposed to learn that from? Because then you have all these different things, polarizing things out there in either social media or on the news or even in schools. Everything is set against us to divide us even further. And whether it's a higher or lower power, we have our higher power, whether it's the universe, God, whatever you believe in, there's still evil out there, and it's trying to destroy us one way or another.
I think that's one of the biggest things that parents underestimate is
because have you heard that saying, united we stand, divided we fall?
Absolutely.
And that's what we're doing.
Yeah. And I think that we have a lot of foreign and outside influences and actors that are pushing that upon us, because the easiest way to take America or any country down is to divide it from within, and keep tensions high. And even though, there's also another saying, the more connected we are, the farther we are apart, because you can create an echo chamber for yourself so that exactly the only thing that you hear is what you want to hear. And that's one thing that I preach to my kids, and I preach to as many people as I can, is that we cannot let the technology and talking heads or whoever make us believe that we are, text that to me, that we are less because we disagree. And there's nothing farther from the truth. Mike, you want to read it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mike's got a great thing that we were talking about earlier. Gary, you'll know what he's talking about in just a second.
It's a poem, Gary. So I don't know if you know what those are, but it's called "The Man in the Glass" by Peter Dale Wimbrow Sr. So bear with me as I read this. When you get what you want in your struggle for self, and the world makes you king for a day, go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. For it isn't your father or mother or wife whose judgment upon you must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. He's the fellow to please, never mind all the rest, for he's with you, clear to the end. And you've passed your most difficult, dangerous test if the man in the glass is your friend. If you may fool the whole world down the pathway of years and get pats on the back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartache and tears if you've cheated the man in the glass.
There's so much to that. I mean, there are many things that you can take from it, but I think we all know the big thing is that all of this starts with ourselves, and we've got to be okay with ourselves, forgive ourselves, and allow us to acknowledge that we've been through some shit, right? I mean, I know that Gary, you've talked about that. Mike, you've talked about that, and I have that. One of the biggest hurdles that we've ever had to get over is to just say we're fucked up, and that's all right, and we're gonna get through it. It doesn't make us a lesser man, a lesser person, or a lesser anything.
Well, and I think I've said it before: hurt people hurt people.
Yeah. Oh man.
So stop hurting people and care for yourself, and start there.
And it doesn't happen overnight, right? I mean, Gary, how long have you been doing this? You've been into this kind of stuff for how long? I think we've talked about it, about a year or 2 years.
Exactly.
Mike,
recent.
Yes, recent. You've been longer though.
I've been searching for it for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think I really grasped a hold of it probably right around when COVID hit, because what do you do when you're at home?
Yeah.
You have to be home.
Yeah, and you're
seeing yourself, looking in the mirror and going, man, I really don't like what I see.
Well, and
so
you're
what am I going to
thinking
do to change it?
Constantly. You're overthinking. You're tearing yourself down, and you're not building yourself back up. And that's the one thing that we have to keep in mind, is that it's important to get out and have that, not the video connection. As much as I love looking at Gary's face with this filter he's got on, and I'm not going to tell you what filter he's got on, but no, I'm joking. But this is a connection point, yes, but it cannot replace what Gary said: the hugs, the high fives. Maybe not a high five. That's a little played out. But no, I'm joking. But that physical touch and that being together. I mean, I know that Mike, you and I have talked about our talks, how important that was for me to get the fuck out and talk to a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, because we're still not back to where we were. You've got so much work from home and things like that, but we've got to tear down that own. I mean, I still have people that in my life that are happy when they get to, because of political bullshit, exclude somebody from their life. And I have told them recently that is not the answer to their happiness. I don't know that happiness is on their radar, but that is not something that is tenable for anyone, to be pushing people away because of their political beliefs. Unless they believe in murdering people or something terrible, I mean, we can really get along, and we've done a fairly good job. Democracy served us pretty well for a long time, and we hope that it's going to continue to do that. But it does start by looking in the mirror and saying, and I put up a post on Instagram and TikTok just this morning about, are you part of the problem or are you part of the solution? It's a very short thing to say, but
when someone has the blinders on, maybe they think they are part of the solution, but it's really the problem.
Exactly. And that's where the whole opening yourselves up to
other perspectives.
Exactly. And
being okay with a difference of opinion.
Yes. That's what I don't understand, this desire to want to only listen to what you agree with, or be around people that you only agree with. Because it's, what kind of homogenized society would we be if everyone fucking agreed on everything?
Well, in a way, it's another addiction.
Yeah, right.
You're addicted to that dopamine hit of, they agree with me. It just solidifies what I believe even more.
I can send you some behavioral stuff that I've checked out by a really good guy. He's a behaviorologist or whatever they're called, but just how it works, and the psychology and the way cults are built and things like that. But it's a wild time to be alive, right?
But I think that too, like we live in such an information age. Like we have, all these things. We have computers and laptops and phones, and we have all these things. But it's like, when people are seeking things, they're not seeking information, they're seeking confirmation.
Right. Yeah.
So you're seeking to hear what you want to hear. And, like, I just think it's so sad. And I think, going back to Mike's poem, like, I think of one of my favorite songs, like one of the lyrics is, "The man in the mirror is my hero." And to me, like, that just means so many things, because we're every day we're being challenged, whether it's, sitting in traffic, for hours, or, dealing with, people being, dickheads or whatever to us. But it's like, we're still like trying to get better every single day. We're still trying to help other people, like, every single day. Like, it doesn't matter about being fucking perfect, it just matters about trying to help somebody else, trying to buy, coffee for the person behind you, maybe opening a door for somebody, just little
smile.
tiny basic things. Yeah, just fucking
random acts of
smiling,
kindness.
man.
Well, you
Yeah,
remember
exactly.
somebody used to say, or an old saying used to be that the problem was that we had a lack of access to information. Well, now we've seen what happens when we have access to all the information. It sure as hell didn't make us smarter. It has drawn us down quite a bit. Well, as we get ready to wrap things up here, what kind of final thoughts do you have for me on unity, Gary?
Unity. I think that I really hope that just in today's day and age, we all do more to try to understand somebody else. Whether it's somebody we don't agree with for anything. We're all going through certain things. We're all battling everything. Just try to understand, somebody else's perspective. Because just because you can't see them wearing a Oregon hat or a Washington hat, or like a Bulls jersey or Blazers jersey or whatever, doesn't mean that you don't potentially have something in common with them. That person could be going through the same thing that you're going through. Just be nice, be courteous, be loving, be understanding. Just think, whoever you're talking to, whoever you're dealing with, that person to somebody is somebody's most important person.
That's exactly right. Good job. I really like that, Gary. That was well said. Mike?
I just totally lost what I was going to say.
Because Gary fucking blew your mind.
I know, Gary. Wow.
Yeah, right.
I was just talking and talking. Sorry.
No, honestly, I think we're more alike than we are different.
Oh, yeah.
And people are choosing to see the difference instead of seeing what's similar. Mm-hmm. And even, Gary was talking about Blazers jersey or Bulls jersey, but they're all NBA fans. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like that. It's kind of that perspective of, you're somewhere else and you're at a soccer game or somewhere else. Say you're in Europe and they don't have NBA over there. You see somebody wearing like a Damian Lillard jersey. You're like, oh, hey, I'm a Lillard fan too, Yeah. So I think a lot of us are more similar than we are different.
I think you're exactly right. And
it just takes, open your eyes to it, Yeah.
Be willing to take the blinders off and accept that.
Don't see the differences, see the similarities.
Yeah, exactly. And along the lines of what both of you said, I besides sharing the exact same thoughts, I guess I would say that it's important for us to embrace that difference that we've talked about and to appreciate the difference that people bring, because that's how good ideas come about. That's how people are made better, and our legacy our legacy depends on it as a human race, as fathers, as sons, whatever it might be. But that willingness to embrace difference so that we can all move forward for a greater good, and that's it. Just you know how to do it real easy. Shut your mouth and open your ears. Mm-hmm. That's a really easy way.
That's a good way to lead too.
Yeah, exactly. Shut your mouth.
Don't be reactive.
Yeah,
be proactive.
Exactly.
So I think there's a reason why silent and listen is both used like in the same letters, because they're both interactive. They both go together. Be silent and listen.
100%. Man, Gary came up with some heaters tonight. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for bringing that heat. Maybe we'll just not have you around here more often. No, I'm joking.
Too bad, because I'm coming there to give you guys hugs.
Good. We need it. We need it. Well, as always, we appreciate everyone listening. Find us on every single podcast platform. We'd really appreciate it if you would slam that subscribe and rate and review for us. Wow. Gary just dropped this. But other than that, we gone.